The Ulster County Clerk's Office presents Maritime Connections to the Ulster County Archives.
Many archival record series reveal interesting historical information about the maritime history of our county. This presentation will show examples of some of the many maritime-related records found in the Ulster County Archives.
The first maritime connection to the Ulster County Archives involves the Articles of Incorporation from some of the many industries which operated in this area at or near the water's edge. Often, raw materials were either mined, manufactured, or shipped from those locations. Let's consider the incorporations of some of those industries.
The Rockland Lake Ice Company filed for incorporation in 1860 and operated on the Hudson River at New Paltz Landing.
Another important industry in this area was quarrying. The Bigelow Bluestone Company filed for incorporation in 1864 and was located in Malden in the town of Saugerties. The bluestone was often shipped down the river to the thriving metropolis of New York City.
The manufacturing of lime and cement was another industry that thrived along the Hudson River. The Kingston Lime and Cement Company filed for incorporation in 1848 and operated out of Kingston and Esopus.
Iron foundries also existed in the area. The Roundout Iron Works filed for incorporation in 1854 and manufactured steam engines, boilers, mill gearing, and more. It was located on Garden Street in the Roundout area of Kingston.
This article of incorporation was filed in 1884 for the Mary Powell Steamboat Company, which operated out of Highland Landing in the town of Lloyd.
Cornell Steamboat Company filed for incorporation in 1892, changing its place of business from New York City to Kingston.
The caption to this illustration from the Beers Atlas of 1875 shows that the Mary Powell made daily trips between Roundout and New York. It made stops at Poughkeepsie, Milton, New Hamburg, Newburgh, Cornwall, West Point, and Cozzens along the way. Paper manufacturer J.B. Sheffield & Son filed for incorporation in 1882 and operated out of Saugerties.
The Kingston Brick Company filed for incorporation in 1892 and operated out of the town of Ulster. It was one of many brickyards and manufacturers doing business along the Hudson River.
Before many of our local bridges were built, people used ferries to get across our rivers and creeks. The Rhinebeck and Kingston Ferry Company filed for incorporation in 1854 and ran between Ulster and Dutchess counties.
This brings us to our next maritime connection, a record series titled Ferrymans Papers, which date from 1797 to 1865. These papers include applications, licenses, bonds, and rates of ferrage. Some names appearing are Schoonmaker, Slight, Kipp, Elting, Davis, Elmore, Cavalry, Godkin, Donaldson, Van Gordon, Brink, Thorne, and Stickley. Let's take a look at some examples.
This sheet, circa 1815, gives some sample prices for the rates of ferrage. For example, a single person except a small child costs 12 cents. A man and a horse is 18 cents. A loaded wagon or an ox cart would be 25 cents. A pail or tub of butter is only 1 cent. And a bushel of wheat or grain would cost 2 cents.
In 1871, Isaac D. Slight petitioned the county court for a ferry license.
The ferry would cross the Esopus Creek from the village of Rondout to the town of Esopus at Slatesburg, and Isaac Slate owned property at both landings.
Another important maritime connection to the Ulster County Archives is chattel mortgages. Chattel mortgages are described as original indentures given in pledge against personal property for loans or goods purchased on deferred credit. They contain descriptions of the personal property. Let's look at one.
In this example of a chattel mortgage dating from 1878, the Thomas Cornell Steamboat Company takes out a $400,000 mortgage. In it are listed 23 vessels by name, showing when and where they were built, tonnage, and many other details about the ships.
This page describes the vessel Austin of Albany, built in 1853 at Hoboken, New Jersey. It is 197 feet long and 31 feet wide, with a capacity of 380 tons. The 22 other vessels are all documented in this way.
One of the most visually appealing maritime connections in the archives is its large collection of maps. And these maps of facilities along the shores of Ulster County rivers and creeks can show interesting information. Maps of turnpikes, railroads, even auctions can have historical value. Let's look at a few examples.
The New Paltz Turnpike map, filed in 1900, extends from the Wallkill River to the Hudson River. Black Creek crosses the turnpike several times before emptying into the Hudson. Here we can see details of stores and landings on the Hudson River shoreline.
Shown here is a portion of map number 183 filed in 1852. It is a map of a property auction. On it we can see details of the Ulster Iron Mill and the 2 paper mills on the Esopus Creek in Saugerties. There are also several docks, including one for steamboats, a reservoir, Barclays Dam and Bridge, and remarks about an available connection to surplus water power.
This is West Shore Railroad map number 97 of 1880. It shows details of the shoreline in Glasgow. Many factories operated in this area, including the Washburn and Archer Brickyard, the Wyant Brickyard, Bigelow Bluestone Company, and the Glasgow, Knickerbocker, and Lake Washington Ice Companies.
This is an early undated map of the Roundout area. On it, we can see several private lots, including that of Tuna's Hoteling, Peter Van Gasbeck, and Abraham Hasbrook. It also shows several stores along the shoreline, the largest of which is owned by Mr. Hasbrook and has a dock. This map even shows the low and high tide lines.
The map also details Thomas Chambers' first grave site. It is located by a pear tree near the vault.
The oldest maritime connections in the Ulster County Archives can be found in the old Dutch records, and these Dutch court records, along with the Secretary's papers, are where many maritime references can be found. Here are a few samples made from microfilm in the interest of preservation.
In 1683, Hendrik ten Eyck hired master carpenter William Willivis to build a yacht. He was to be paid 9 guilders per day, plus food, drink, and lodging.
In 1673, 21 Holland ships were set to attack New York. Thomas Chambers ordered guards to the Rondout, and the residents pledged allegiance to Holland.
This undated record showed that a sloop, 5 sailors, and 1 boy were hired for a trip to the Caribbean. They were paid 130 pieces of 8 in good silver money every month.
Some of the most detailed and revealing archival maritime connections come in the form of the records of liens on vessels. And there are 171 liens on vessels in the archives, and they date from 1857 to 1870. They are records of claims for repairs showing the claimant, the vessel type, specifications of the lien, materials, labor, and costs. Let's look at some samples. You may recognize some of the names.
Jefferson and James McCausland filed a claim against the boat Skipjack in 1864. It was for $110.88 worth of repairs.
In 1864, the King brothers filed a lien against the canal boat Goodwill for $121.36 worth of repairs.
Jacob Fox filed a lien against the barge Ulster County in 1865 for over $6,000 worth of repairs.
Below you can see a list of some of the services provided by Jacob Fox on the barge Ulster County and the prices he charged for them.
In 1868, William Robeson filed a lien against the sloop John Jay for $167.21. We admire the artful penmanship that is often found on the documents from this era.
Stoneman Brothers, sailmakers in Albany, filed a lien against the sloop Clarissa in 1866 for $242 worth of cotton duck.
Archibald McMillan filed a lien against the three-masted schooner, the Charles S. Bayliss, in 1866 for $81.61.
In 1905, New York State conducted a census, and many maritime connections to Ulster County can be found in the record of this event. It shows that, at the time, 638 Ulster County residents were maritime workers. The occupations of boatmen, captains, bargemen, pilots, ship carpenters, and shipyard laborers appear in the record. They were living in Warsing, Ulster, Saugerties, Rosendale, Marbletown, Esopus, and the city of Kingston. Let's look at two sample pages.
This is sheet number 626 from Volume 1 of the census. It shows 6 of the 36 ship carpenters that were living in the 5th election district of Esopus in 1905. There are 3 Freer families on this page, and all 3 heads of household are ship carpenters. Here we see Wallace Freer, his wife Olive, and their 12-year-old daughter Beatrice, and below them are Edwin B. Freer and with his wife Mary, and their 3-year-old daughter Flossie. Further up the pages, DeWitt Freer is listed with his wife, 4 children, and his mother. This is sheet number 255 from Volume 1 of the census. On it, we can see 6 of the 55 boatmen in Kingston's 5th Ward in 1905. Here we can see the McNally siblings, Michael, Thomas, Patrick, and Hannah. All 3 brothers are boatmen on either the canal or the river.
We can find more maritime connections to Ulster County in the naturalization records. The occupations of sailors, ship carpenters, ship machinists, and boatmen appear in their papers. They came from Austria, Canada, Czechoslovakia, Germany, Ireland, Italy, Jamaica, Norway, Poland, Russia, Scotland, Spain, and Sweden. Let's look at a sample.
This is a petition and affidavit for Albert Benson. It is also known as the final application to be admitted to become a citizen of the United States.
Albert Benson came from Sweden and landed in New York in 1889. By 1897, he was living in Slatesburg in the town of Esopus and working as a shipbuilder.
Not all maritime connections in the archives fall under the categories we have discussed so far. We would like to close with these last few individual records. They are about canal barges and shipments of wheat.
These barge canal clearance books were created during the heyday of the Delaware and Hudson Canal.
The first book is for 1846 and shows the dates of arrival at the Roundout and clearance for Honesdale on the Delaware and Hudson Canal.
Under the Kingston Patent of 1687, trustees of the corporation had to deliver annually 104 bushels of good, sweet, merchantable winter wheat on the 25th day of the month of March at City of New York. Each delivery was given a quit rent receipt. Let's look at one from 1717.
In this Kingston patent receipt, it says, I received from William Sells of a sloop from Esopus 104 bushels wheat for 1 year's quit rent for Kingston in Ulster County.
Shown here is a quit rent receipt for 1737 from Everett Bogardus, who made a delivery of wheat to Receiver General Archibald Kennedy. As the record keeper of Ulster County since 1683, and as the repository of the Dutch Colonial manuscripts from the Municipal Court of Wiltwyck dating from 1658, the Ulster County Clerk's Office contains a wealth of materials related to the maritime history of our county.
This has been Maritime Connections to the Ulster County Archives. We thank you for your attention and hope you enjoyed our presentation.